What's up guys, Perry from Rockville here, and today I'm going to show you how to set up your MINI RF1 4-pack. As you can see, it comes with the bag itself, preloaded with 4 MINI RF1 wash lights, as well as a charger and a wireless remote control for each light. In order to use the wireless remote with your lights, you want to set it to the pink mode, otherwise the remote will not work with your light at all. As you can see, the bag comes included with these Velcro dividers here, so you can customize how everything fits in your bag. So for example, I could leave it as is so that each light has its own pocket, as well as pockets for your chargers and remotes, or I can make 2 sections and have one dedicated to my lights and one dedicated to my chargers and remotes. And whenever you're ready to go, you can just take out each light and set them up however you need for your show or event. Now we're about to cut to the how-to portion for our MINI RF1 lights. In this portion, you'll see the setup for 1 or 2 lights, but you'll want to follow the same exact steps if you plan to use all 4 of your lights. So let's cut over to the how-to now. Now, one of the many ways we can use the MINI RF1 is for wall washing. You can either use the rubber feet on the bottom of the light so that the light will shine completely up, or you can use the bracket to angle the light towards your wall. If you're using the rubber feet, you just want to place your light completely flush against your wall. And if you're using the bracket, you're just going to want to take your light and place it a few inches away from your wall and angle it until the light is hitting your wall the way you want. And from there, you can use any of the light modes or colors, but we'll get to that in a bit. Now for a truss mount setup, you're going to need a lighting clamp like our very own Rockville LC70. To attach the clamp onto the light, you're going to start by taking out this bolt piece on the bottom. Then you're just going to line up the holes on the clamp and the bracket. Take your bolt piece and feed it through each hole and screw the bolt on until the clamp is secured to the bracket. Now to attach the clamp onto a spot on your truss, you're just going to loosen this screw on the back here, line the clamp up to a spot on your truss, and tighten the screw to lock it in place. And because the light is battery powered, we won't have to run any power cables to it, since the light will last anywhere from 10 to 15 hours depending on the color or mode you have it set in. Now another setup that uses the rubber feet on the bottom of your light is when you're using it to light up a totem stand or to illuminate a DJ facade. To use the MINI RF1 with a totem stand like our very own RTP32W, all you want to do is lift up the scrim and place your light in the middle of the totem stand. And you can even take off the mounting bracket since you wouldn't need it for this setup. And setting up your light to a DJ facade is very similar to wall washing, where you'll take your light and line it up flush to the inside of your DJ facade. And depending on the size of your DJ facade, you can use multiple of these lights for a much more illuminating effect. You can even use the MINI RF1 as a table light to light up bottles, which is great for parties, bars, events, etc. Again, you can take the bracket off for this kind of setup for a much more elegant, sleeker look. Now to turn your light on, you're just going to use the button in the middle here. And you'll want to use the button next to it to cycle through all the mode options that the MINI RF1 has to offer. Now as we start to cycle through all the different modes, you'll see that the LED next to the mode button will change colors to let us know which mode we're set onto. For example, when the LED is lit up red, this will tell us that the light is set to automatic color cycle mode, where the light will cycle through all of the available colors. The green LED means that the light is set to fade mode, where the light will fade in between all the different colors. The blue mode tells us that the light is set to strobe mode. The yellow LED means that the light is set to sound mode, where the color of the light will change when the light picks up sound with the built-in microphone. So for example, if I make some sound, you'll see that the LED starts to change. The pink mode allows us to use the wireless RF remote to change the color of the lights or to set the light into different modes. Again, this is very important because if it's not set to this mode, you won't be able to use your remote with any of your lights. For example, we can set the light into the main 6 colors of red, green, blue, white, amber, and ultraviolet. What's also really cool is that if we set the light into this color wheel mode here, we can use these up and down arrows at the top of the remote to switch the light into different variations of colors. We can also do this by using any of the buttons in this section here. With the wireless remote, we can also set the light into auto mode, fade mode, snap or a pulse mode, sound mode, or strobe mode. What's also really cool is that you can use the remote to set the color of the strobe. To do this, I'll first want to select the color, so I'll go with red, and then press strobe mode to activate the strobe. And for any of these modes, we can use these up and down buttons to adjust the speed of each function. Last but not least, we also have the option to turn the light off and on. And if you have more than one light set to this mode, you can use just one remote to control all of your lights. Lastly, the light blue color tells us that the light is in secondary or wireless DMX mode. This means that the light is looking for a signal to pair to, whether that be another MINI RF1 or a wireless DMX controller. To demonstrate, I have my DMX controller here that I'm going to use to control two of my lights. So first we'll want to make sure that both lights are set to the cyan DMX mode. Next we can turn on our DMX controller by flipping the bigger switch here. Then we'll want to flip the switch next to that so that the DMX controller is sending signal out. Next we'll want to be sure that the DMX controller is set to this red mode here so that the signal is reaching out to the MINI RF1s. So now on your DMX controller, you'll want to press scanner 1 so that you can use each fader with the lights. After that, we're all set to use the DMX controller with our lights. So let's go through each fader and see what they do. Starting with fader 1 here, this acts as your master fader, so you'll want to have that all the way up. Next to that we have fader 2, which will control the red LEDs, so if I raise that, you'll start to see the red coming through. Now depending on where you leave each fader will determine the intensity of the LEDs. So for example, if I raise fader 2 all the way up, the LEDs will flash at max intensity, and if I lower it and leave it at 2, you'll notice they're not as intense. Moving on to fader 3, this controls our green LEDs. Fader 4 will control our blue LEDs. Fader 5 controls the white LEDs. Fader 6 controls the amber LEDs. And fader 7 will control the ultraviolet LEDs. And remember, fader 1 acts as our master fader, so if I turn that all the way down, it will kill all of the lights. Now you can use fader 8 along with any other fader to activate the strobe mode. And just like I was showing you earlier, the intensity of the strobe will change depending on where you leave the fader. Now fader 9 will control all of the different modes available on the MINI RF1s. And when you move fader 9 up and down, it corresponds with this number here on the screen. And depending on where you move fader 9 to will activate a specific mode. So for example, if I raise fader 9 up to the point where it reads anywhere from 101 to 150, the lights will go into color gradual or color fade mode. You can see the complete cheat sheet of fader 9 here. And lastly, fader 10 will control the speed of all the different modes. So for example, if I raise fader 10 in gradual fade mode, the lights will fade between each color quicker. Now, if you don't want to use a DMX controller, but you still want to have multiple of your lights in sync, you can always use the wireless master-slave function. So to do that, we'll first have to choose which light we want to set as the slave light, so that's going to be this one here. So we'll want to be sure that each light is set to the light blue mode. So next we'll go to our master light and choose a mode to set it at. So for this example, I'm just going to set it to the cycle mode. And after that, we'll want to set the light into master or primary mode by holding down the mode button for 3 seconds. After that, you'll see the LED next to the mode button start to flash, and then it will automatically sync up to the slave light. And as you can see, both lights are fully synced up and are both in the color cycle mode. And any changes we make to the primary light will change the secondary light as well. So for example, we'll change the mode on our primary light, and now both lights are in the color fade mode. So hopefully this showed you guys how easy it is to set up your MINI RF1 4-pack. But of course, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to reach out to our customer support team through phone or email. As always, I'm Perry from Rockville, and we'll see you guys next time.